Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Bets Golden and today I am here with the October 2021 blank of the month. It is this really great, I call them pot holders. I don't know what you guys call them, but I think they're a lot of fun. So you're going to see me work through 3 of them, and in each of them I kind of learned each time what I did wrong. I didn't get everything perfect as I had anticipated. I figured out what my mistakes were. So you want to, if you're going to do sublimation, you want to do it on a piece of cheap copy paper. I think I got like 2 reels from Staples for $5. That's the way to do it. So I'm lining this up in the MISTI, and I do have everything I'm using listed down below for you too, in case you're wanting to know where I got stamps and stuff. And I leave it in the MISTI because I'm going to go back at the end and re-stamp it. And I like to do that technique because if I color sloppy, it kind of helps mask that, and it also crisp up those lines. I went ahead and created a cute little saying from, or I should say on my scan and cut. I like to do this when I want to use text because I really stink at writing backwards. And you need to write backwards because when you sublimate, it will actually do the mirror image. So I find it easy to type out what I want to do on my scan and cut, have it cut, and then I just put it on backwards. So for this first one, I went ahead, outlined with my fine tip artistry marker and colored it in. And I thought it was such a cute little saying, "You are the cheese to my burger." And then once I got done with all of that, I went in and colored my hamburger. And the lettuce that I did, it was supposed to be clover, and it came out brown, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I remembered what I did. I actually had done a background where I just colored a whole bunch of the sublimation colors on it, and I got it wet, and I think it picked up those colors and it ruined my marker. So be really careful when you're doing stuff like that. That color right there that I'm using is a mint, and it turned out really, really lovely. So once I get done getting this all colored, I take it, I put it back into my MISTI, and I stamp it again, and that just crisps up that lines. Then I go ahead and I dry both the front and the back, because when I adhere it to my substrate, which is that pot holder, if I move it at all, it will cause that ink to possibly land on different areas that I don't want it to land. And once it heats up, it becomes one with your substrate, and you can't, it's like permanent. So you kind of want to be careful when you're using any kind of wet medium. And it's totally okay to heat it up. It will not ruin your image at all. It'll still transfer beautifully. Okay, so from here, I go ahead and I just line that up. I use some heat resistant tape to tape it down. Now I did have a little bit of a problem off screen, and that is I heated my heat press up to 400 degrees, but I had left it on so long that it turned itself off. It's a safety precaution. And I did not realize that that had happened until after I had started to heat press it. I looked over, realized that it was off, but it was still hot. So I immediately lifted my handle, clicked it on, and when I did that, the whole thing kind of popped up, and my silicone paper ended up moving a little bit, which caused some issues in my final print, and you'll see what I mean. So if you're using a heat press, you're going to want to take, and like I said, use some of this heat resistant tape. Everything's from Artistry. You can find all of this sublimation stuff over there. It is amazing. Great store. Go check it out. You're going to put it in between 2 silicone pieces of paper. What this paper does is it captures your image, and it forces it to go from the paper to your 80% polyester coated or blend substrate. And in this case, it's the pot holder. It turns it into a gas and it forces it into that, and it literally infuses with it, and you cannot wash it out, rub it out. It is there forever. And see, look what happens. See how sloppy that is in some areas? A couple things happen with that, and I was like, darn it, I don't like how that ink went everywhere. But I had worked so hard on this project, I didn't want to throw it away, and I didn't not want to share it. So I decided that I wanted to try to problem solve, try to fix it a little bit. So what I did was, on my silicone mat, I just scribble out some ink, and then I mixed it with some water to get it to move, because these are water reactive. And I dipped another piece of paper into this ink, and I kept building and building and building. The paper was saturated. My whole intention was just to get a background down so it could camouflage some of those errors that I had in my ink transfer. That happened, the ink issue happened because of my heat press turned off and I didn't recognize, and so it kind of moved. And also my fingers were wet with the ink when I was removing the stencils. It was oversaturated from the marker and it just smeared, and I didn't catch it. So it's totally on me. So I'm just going through right now, and I'm just going to lay this out. The cool thing is, since this is substrated, I can totally do a substrate image on top of what I just did. The original isn't moving. It's not going to lose any of its color or its vibrancy at all. And it turns out being pretty cute. All right. So as you can see, I'm just sitting here just building and building and building that background. Once I got it to my liking, I went ahead, hit it with that heat tool again, and then I put it right back under my press for 90 seconds at 400 degrees. And it came out pretty cute. I can use that definitely in my own kitchen, but I wanted to do another one where I learned from my mistakes. So this time I'm being more careful with where I put my fingers and how I end up removing my stencils after I get done coloring them in, because they're super saturated. And then if you notice, I put heat resistant tape over the smudges that I see. The heat resistant tape actually will not allow the little smudges or any of your ink to transfer in those areas. So if you ever get let's say you get a fingerprint in your ink pad and it transfers to your design, all you got to do is just put a little bit of heat resistant tape over it and it will not transfer that image. So I go ahead and I cut this down. I put it center in on top of my substrate, and I pop it back into my press, 400 degrees. This time I make sure that my press is still on for 90 seconds. If you want to use an iron, just set it to the highest, and you would press it down in sections for 3 minutes each section, making sure that you secure your image on all sides with your heat resistant tape so you don't have any ghosting. Go ahead and check out my playlist that I do have for artistry sublimation to see how you can use an iron and you don't need to use a press for this type of project. So you don't have to go out and do too much of a huge investment on that if you just have a household iron. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to tape this out. And you're going to notice when I pull it off, there is a little bit of red by the U, and that is because, once again, I think my stencil it just wasn't dry and it smeared when I lifted it. So I figured out the third time is the charm. I'm going to show you that at the end. It's so cute. I'm going to tell you what I did to fix it. But this one turns out super cute as well. So again, I'm laying out that silicone paper, creating a sublimation sandwich, and then I press it out, and here we go. Check out how cute this ends up being. And my son is the one that came up with this saying. Isn't it just so, so sweet? You warm my heart. Perfect for a hot mat. I wanted to share with you the 3 blank of the months that I created, and you saw me do this one what I think went wrong with this was I think my hands had a little bit of ink and there was some moisture, which actually transferred. And I tried to cover it up with doing a background, and it's all right. And then the next one I did was this one, and I really like that. I thought it turned out super cute, but then there's this over here and up here. So my ink, when I removed my stencil, my ink kind of bled, and that's what happened with that. And so that I started to think about, okay, what can I do to fix that in the next one? And I pulled this dabber out, used my ink pad, my sublimation ink pad, over my stencil to create this one. And it's perfect. So by doing it this way, the intensity of the black ink is not quite as severe, but it also does not tend to have the tendency to, it dries faster, I think, so that you can remove the stencil and it's not going to smudge or smear on your design. And plus, this is really easy to use. You literally take it and you dab it all over the stencil and you're good to go, instead of tediously taking and, you know, coloring everything in. So I really, really love how that turned out. But anyway, everything I have used listed down below. Artistry is, you guys, I gotta tell you, for Christmas this year, it's going to be tough to find things, and so handmade items is it. And Artistry has stock of some things. They're not depending on, you know, supplies necessarily from overseas for everything, so they have some things in stock. I highly recommend going over there and getting some sublimation stuff and creating just personalized gifts. If you want to use my code BETZ, BETZ10, it'll get you at least 10% off of the order. So that's for you guys. I do have everything listed down below in the affiliated link, so make sure you check it all out, as well as the stamps that I was able to use. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Until next time, I'm Bets Golden. Happy crafting.